Well, hello, sports fans. Greetings with Athletic Chat number 54. The charming gentleman in the blue shirt is Stuart Weir in the intellectual capital of the world, Oxford, England. And it's also where Brother Cadfile's from, I think, too. So one of my favorite books and British mystery things. And then this is Larry Eater. We're in Portland, Oregon this week. We got to watch the glorious Portland Track Classic. Among the topics we will cover on today's Athletics Chat. Stuart, we've got a lot to talk about. What a busy weekend, you know? Would you like to start, dear friend, with Doha?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not absolutely certain of this, but I think the temperature in Doha may have been slightly higher than in Gateshead.
Really?
Yeah. Having had the wind and the rain and the cold in Gateshead, it was nice to see athletes enjoying the good temperature, and there were some outstanding performances. I mean, great to see Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price just doing the business, because she looked a bit like a lost Jamaican in Gateshead. Probably never been so cold in her life.
Yes.
And I mean, just to see her, winning that race comfortably in Doha, just to show people who thought that coming fourth in Gateshead, perhaps she's getting past it. Not a bit of it. Faith Kipyegon, world champion, Olympic champion in the 1500, and suddenly for a bit of fun, she starts running 800s and runs silly times.
Yeah.
I mean, there were just some great performances there. I thought. I mean, I've mentioned a couple, and I laughed. I always like reading the flash quotes, and I just loved. Sometimes people give me very bland comments, but Natoya Gould's comment: "I should have won the race. I should have done better."
Yes.
Good on you.
No, I thought that was remarkably honest. Although I think Natalia has that reputation. She's pretty ebullient, and she's fun in an interview. I thought Ray Benjamin in the 400 hurdles in his 47:28. But I'll tell you who's really impressing me, and our friends, the Backstraight boys in the UK, warned me a couple of weeks ago, is Dos Santos, Mr. Dos Santos, who was second in the 400 hurdles. He just screamed, and Mr. Sambo was fourth in the hurdles. So there's some real competition in that event. If those guys don't, put on their A game, they're going to be in trouble.
And of course, there's a certain Carsten Warholm who wasn't there, but who will certainly be around later in the year.
Yeah, no, he's the 400 hurdles is becoming a very popular event. There's real characters there, but there's also tremendous athletic talent. So you combine that, and if a TV producer could actually understand the event and communicate that it is probably the toughest event on the track, in terms of one lap, I think you get a lot more fans and keep it fun.
A couple of years ago, I bumped into David Hemery, the 1968 Olympic champion.
Yep.
And I said to him, David, in lots of events, people of your age running the times that they used to time would be embarrassed, whereas you would still be potentially in the medals. Why do you think this is? And he said, because it's such a tough event that people don't want to do it. He said, I think there's a lot of sprint hurdlers who could be very good at the 400 hurdles, but they don't want to do the training.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting comment.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you take the 400 flat, which, the average human can run just under 300 yards before collapsing all out.
Yeah.
So for an elite athlete, that's about 33 seconds. Then you add on another 100 meters. And unless you pace it like a Michael Johnson or a Wade Vanderkerk, you are just gutting it out that last, 100 meters, which is what all of us love to watch. Well, then you add 10 hurdles. And, my kids, when I coached the hurdles, they swore to me that I was making the last 4 hurdles higher. I literally took them around and showed them that I wasn't goofing with them. And it was about, it was a psychological thing that you're so tired and you have 3 hurdles to finish. What do you do? And that's, you look at a kid like Rye and you look at Karsten Warholm and how strong they are. Karsten came from the multi-event background, and Ray is just, he's a 200, 400 kid, but he looks like a basketball player. He's just tall and strong, and so it's very interesting to see who's out there. David Emery was about 5'10", but he ran a mean 800, and wasn't he on the Brits 4x4 team in Mexico too?
I think so. Yeah. So
he was.
Another fascinating thing about Warhol is he says he actually quite likes the outside lane, because he says I just blast it, and I don't worry about anyone else, and I don't get distracted by what anyone else is doing.
I think that's actually part of his secret sauce. I think that he has such a sense of pace. It seems that if you look at his races and you time between 1 and 100, 100, first 100 meters, the next 200, and then between 200 and 300, his pacing's uncanny. And but he also has the drive. Obviously, his coach and he have worked on in a very cold climate, probably in an old coal mine, as some of the other guys used to do in Norway. Worked on hurdles and worked on timing, and he's so precise. And the thing is, to beat him, and I believe Ray can, everybody's going to have to be on their A game, I think all 3 could set PBs, Samba included, and Mr. Dos Santos in there as the spoiler at an Olympics, and they could all set PBs.
Go on.
It's one of the good things that the warm weather in Tokyo could bring, is that for the sprinters, the benefit of that warm weather, and for the jumpers, are big times and big jumps. For the distance runners, it's going to be crap.
Benjamin says that he thinks that Kevin Young's world record could go.
Well, I think they're getting very close, and I share his optimism. I also respect that time. I remember watching it live on TV with Barcelona, and just absolutely blown away. I said, okay. My first thing was watch is off. What is going on? And it was mind-boggling.
Well, the British Chris Akabusi ran a PR British record and came 3rd.
No, it's just but Chris got his revenge. He in a couple 4x4s too. So he did that. What did you think about? Let's see. We had Timothy Chariot in the 1500, and the Australian young men. Stewart was up there, and they were battling well. And then there's something about Helen O'Beary and the 3000 in Doha. Don't I recall the last couple of years when she would run it, she would also drop way back with the lap to go? Is she just not race fit yet? Or is it that distance
I don't
too
know.
hard?
I think she's got such a range. I gather she's just done a half marathon, but yet she's also been very competitive at the 1500. So I think that was probably a blip, and I would not be at all surprised to see Helen getting a medal in Tokyo.
Okay, cool. Anything else from lovely Doha that you wanted to comment on?
No, I mean, in a sense, it's nice to see the Diamond League back in the Qatar Sports Club
Yeah.
rather than the Khalifa Stadium, which they used for the World Championship and for the Diamond League in 2019. Because the thing about the Qatar Sports Club, it's quite a small stadium and they don't get big crowds, but there's a nice atmosphere in it. So, and I mean, often, of course, there were very few spectators this year for obvious reasons, but often you would get East Africans who are working in Qatar turning up to cheer for the Kenyans or the Ethiopians in the distance races. So that was always a nice bit of atmosphere. I always loved going there, and I was sad that I couldn't go this year. But interestingly, I applied, and as well as my own government not being keen on me going, I got a nice letter back saying they're very sorry, but the Qatar government was not allowing anyone in.
Yeah, yeah, I found that rather humorous too. The earlier in the year, Qatar had shut down anybody coming in to their country for 30 days due to the pandemic, and they, I think that they're quite afraid of the pandemic, and rightly so. We would be remiss without talking about Katie Nagiot. She and Sandy Morris had a fantastic battle. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, of course, Katie had gone into this just a few days after doing a 493. Mm-hmm. It was. I mean, it was great. Holly Bradshaw was impressive, and Sandy, but it was won by Katie again. And I mean, it's interesting because I actually first met Katie when we were changing planes in Abu Dhabi on the way to Doha, probably 5-6 years ago, and I just wasn't sure I was in the right place, and I asked this person, "Are you going to Doha?" And it was Katie. And when we arrived, I was waiting for my suitcase, and she wasn't worried about her suitcase. She was worried about her poles. And we traveled together, and the poles sticking out of the minibus. So it was quite an introduction to me as to what pole vaulting was like on the run. But she was magnificent. I just really like her attitude. And there was that lovely tweet which you retweeted of her thanking Scott Simpson, who is Holly's coach, but who was actually helping Katie. I mean, I've got a post coming up on this where Scott says his agreement with Holly is never in a championship, but at another meet, he can help Holly's competitors. And it's not actually so much coaching as he explains it, it's just giving feedback. Sometimes it's just filming the vault so that the athlete can look at it, or answering simple questions like, where did I plant the pole? And I mean, Scott argues that as well as it being helpful to Katie, it's actually essential for her safety, that she knows that somebody's able to say to her, look, where you planted the pole was actually too close. You're going to get into difficulties next time. You need to watch that. So it's a kind of a safety thing, but it's all part of this amazing fraternity of the pole vaulters. I mean, Scott says in the piece that I've coming up that perhaps the multi-eventers are the only other group who have this camaraderie in the midst of the competition.
That makes a ton of sense. That really does make sense. I think that the pole vault, we've talked about this before, but the pole vault is really, on both the men and women's side, has some real stars. And those are the kind of events that shine, But nice job with Doha. We've got a few more stories to put up. Wonderful pictures. Thank you, Stuart. And thank you, our friends at Diamond League, for that. And then let's talk about, we'll do it in a time manner. Friday night, I was in Portland at Lewis and Clark College for night one of the Portland Distance Classic. Courtney Frerick, the American record holder in the steeplechase, won the women's steeple in 9:21:13. And she dominated. She sat with the pack, and then with about 4 laps to go, she just blasted away and looked superb. There were 4 other women under 9:30, the Olympic qualifying standard, and I believe 9 women under 9:50, which is the U.S. Olympic Trials qualifying standard. On the men's side, Mason Frolic, who many of you have heard about. He's a steepler, but he also won a couple 5s this year, and you're wondering, what's he doing? Well, he, great hurdling, ran 8:18, but the one that I would encourage you to watch was in 3rd place, Sean McGorty, in only his 2nd steeple, went 8:22. Sean's a Bowerman Track Club athlete. We have an interview with him that I'll be posting the next day or so. But then there were a couple 10,000s. On the women's side, Caroline Keptanui in 31:44. I call your attention to Molly Seidel, the American who runs for Puma, who goes by Golly Molly 12 on Twitter. A bit of a character and a cut up, but she did a tempo run at 5:19 pace for 5 miles, exactly 90 minutes before the 10. And came in and qualified, hit the U.S. Olympic trial standard of 32:02 in 3rd place. One wonders what she could have done with just the 10,000 concentration. But that was after the men's 10,000, which was kind of fun. Shigeru Osaku, the record holder in Japan in the marathon. Shigeru ran 27:56:44 and won. A kid named Jacob Thompson, big PB, 2nd place. He's from Western Kentucky. He went 27:57:28. And then in 4th place, in his first track race since 2019, Galen Rupp, 28 minutes, 37 hundredths. He just missed being the top 26 in the U.S. In terms of times to make it into the trials. Now, that doesn't mean he won't be competing in the trials. He was a little frustrated and understand that a 4-letter word may have crossed his lips, but that happens sometimes when you get a little frustrated. Galen's a good guy, and we posted an interview we did with him in February, just so you guys could check it out. But Shigeru came back in the second 10 and took 2nd there in 29:04 behind a kid named Acer Iverson. I just love that name, Acer Iverson. I got to say it again. Acer ran 29:04 flat, and Shigeru ran 29:04:28. Now, this is why Shigeru ran 2 10Ks in one day. His coach, Pete Julian, had told, or is it Pete or Jerry Schumacher? I'm trying to remember. I think it's perhaps Jerry. He was told that he was supposed to go home after the 10 and do a 10-mile tempo on the treadmill. And he just didn't want to go inside. So he said, "Hey, coach, can I do the other 10?" And he goes, "Sure." So, he ran 20K on the track in a day. He's going to be a sore puppy on Saturday. But that was kind of fun. So there were no fans in the stadium yet because obviously the COVID is going on here. But big changes Saturday morning. Tracktown USA announced that we will have fans in the Olympic Stadium in Hayward, June 18 through 27. It looks like there's going to be a section for the vaccinated. They're going to have a V on their chest, and a section for the unvaccinated with a UV, and they'll be socially distanced.
Could the ones who are not vaccinated not have a bell around their necks, like unclean, unclean?
I was thinking that, or maybe we could redo a skit from Monty Python, call out your dead or something, and push your cart around, because that would really go over well. And then this morning, before you and I got on, the NCAA announced that their U.S. Collegiate Championship for Division I, they're going to allow exactly 4,400 fans in each day, and they have to be. They want them to show their vaccine cards and all that happy stuff. So it's opening up a little bit here. The prices on B&Bs have tripled. The hotel we were looking at staying at during the trials. Oh, you got your card. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you mine. We can just kind of do that whole thing and encourage people to, Yeah. And Mikey, our producer, has got his too, and those are good things. But I keep mine in my passport, so there's my card too.
Yeah.
And but I do feel the chip from Bill Gates going through my head, because on Sunday nights I can hear Cuban baseball, and on Friday I hear reruns of Russian soccer matches. So it's a good thing. Now that we've gotten out of track and field completely, let's go back and let's talk about the European team champs. I think that's kind of cool, and thank you for the articles on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically what it is, the whole of Europe is divided into 4 divisions, and the top 4 called the top tier is called the Super League, and so that is countries like Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Poland, so on, and Spain, Portugal. And basically, it's 40 track and field disciplines, 20 men, 20 women, 1 athlete per country per event.
Okay.
For the field events, it's 4 jumps only, 4 throws. So it's quite a slick thing. And the great thing about it is that if you're there as a spectator, it's very easy to understand. You see a race. If you're Spanish, you see an athlete in the red of Spain. If you're French, you see somebody in the blue of France. And so it's very clear. You see where your athlete goes. And at the end of the 40 events, you add up the points. Basically, you get 1 point for every athlete you beat. So, if you come first in the race, you get 7 points. If you come last, you get 1 point. But at the end, there was really only 7 points between first and third. And the British team did what the British team used to do very well. Run a superb three legs of the relay, and then fail to get the baton to the 4th runner when you're actually leading the race.
Wow.
Unbelievable. But the question I wanted to ask you is, the problem with this is that you didn't see Dean Isor-Smith or KGT. You didn't see either of the Ophelia sisters. You didn't see any of the amazing middle distance runners that we've talked about. Jake Whiteman was but the only one who's a potential medal prospect there. And last year I went to this event, and Katerina Stefanidi was there, and I just said to her, not many athletes of your standard come. Why did you come? And she said all the politically correct things like, I like to run for my country, blah, blah, blah. And then she said, since you asked me, I'll give you a really honest answer. I'm a professional athlete, and I think I should be paid to compete. So I think European athletics should be paying us, and they're not. So therefore, in an Olympic year, the top athletes are saying to themselves, well, I can go to Doha and be paid, or I can go to the European Team Championships and get nothing. And again, others will say, look, it's not about money for me, but I've got exactly 2 months to the Olympics, less than 2 months to the Olympics, and I want to do the races that I think are right for me. So the question to you is, and it's a bit like the World Relays, a really fun and good event, but somehow it struggles to get a place in the calendar. so that the
Yes.
top athletes take it seriously. So is there a way around that?
Yeah, we get a sponsor that's not a shoe company, and that's really where a lot more energy has got to be spent, and where I'm starting to try to spend some too. I look at the World Relays. So here's my thing. If I was running the sport, World Relays would be in the Bahamas every other year. The Olympics would be in Athens every 4 years. Just, stop the silliness. You can do different things. World championships can move around. It's one thing to do one sport. It's nothing to do all the sports. The EU is dealing with so many problems in Greece. If you actually use those facilities over 3 Olympics, I guarantee you'd make your money back. And also, what would it do for the country of Greece? We've just got to start thinking of things. Yeah. But then you go to the European team thing, the same kind of a deal. We need a pan-European company, somebody who's very proud of the European heritage. And, if Adidas wanted to do it, rock on. But I think that, one of the nice beer companies, our friends at Porsche, our BMW, or Audi, they would be perfect for it. If they dropped $500,000, they can make it rock. And it's like the match, when our dear friend Sven Arne Hansen started the match. He knew he didn't have a lot, but he had some things to work with, and he had some money. And I think Katerina talked to you about that time too, and said, "Hey, these kind of events, we need to get paid for them." And she's right. And we've got to value the athlete's time, and especially there's a plethora of events. I mean, the Diamond League's got these events, and you've got Continental, then you've got your local European stuff. And the truth is, there's now 40 new competitions in the U.S., bespoke meets that have been developed during the pandemic, with 30 of them without help from USA Track and Field, and not castigating USATF at all. I think it's wonderful. There's entrepreneurs out there, but they're finding money in different ways. The guys in Portland put their streaming video up for $5.99, so about £3, €3.50, and about €4.25. So it's what, a beer or a burrito, or a combo, and you do that, and they figured out. I mean, Jesse Williams at Sound Running said, "Look, I get 20,000 viewers. That's $80,000 that I can split between the athletes. And an athlete getting an extra $1,000, $2,000, that's paying rent and that's paying food bills. Yeah. And I think that's wonderful. And then put something up for when I went to the meet at Lewis and Clark this weekend. I had not been to Lewis and Clark since 1998. Back then, there was the Adidas Track Classic, and the late Paul Banta was the meet director. He was a character, and I love Paul. But what he did was worked with the Adidas people, Todd Klein and crew, and they took, I believe it was $5,000 or $10,000. They said, let's take the Portuguese tables and let's compare the javelin to the 10K, to the 400, to the 800. And it was really cool. I mean, Tom Putskis is out there in crazy rain, throwing a 74-meter, javelin throw. Todd Williams is running a 28-40, and he should have had an umbrella in his hand. And I think it came down to a field event one, which was awesome. But just those kind of things, some of that creativity, because Brits and Americans understand money. If they see that somebody's won an amazing purse, or, you're comparing a javelin to 100 meters, they're going to be fascinated by it. And we've just got to look at stuff a different way. No, I look at both of those meets. I really want to go to the European team, and I want to go to the European under 23. I cannot tell you how many of the managers and how many of the shoe sponsors tell me the under 23 is their favorite meet on the thing, because they see these kids, that and the under 20, they see these young kids progressing, and it's that 22, 23 time period when a kid goes from a young athlete to a more elite athlete. I mean, I had that conversation with Jody Williams last week. She was so much fun. I watched you interview her a bunch of times, and we got to do a feature last week, and she talked about the challenges from going from 17 and 18 to 22, 23. But no, I think if we can put some money behind these things and find some unusual sponsors, over here, there's a tool company called Stanley Tools. And one of my buddies, a hammer thrower, this has got to be 25, 30 years ago, when I was coaching over at Foothill College, he wanted to do the Stanley Tools throw events. And we were going to have throws in parking lots. Big sale for, tools. And then you can have a beer and you can watch a guy throw the shot put. And you know what? I thought it was cool. And the athletes would have come if we could have sold it. But you got to think of goofy stuff like that,
Yeah.
I mean, the other one that I want to see is I want to see some handicapped rate. I'm not sure what the term is. Where you get the guy on the street, and he's going to run 200 meters, and you're going to get Wade Vanderkirk to run 400 meters. And if Wade catches him, he gets an extra $5,000, and if the guy holds him off, he gets $5,000. People would go crazy over that. You don't do it all the time, but maybe you do one of those each meet. I'll tell you, you get people kind of going. I mean, have the football players, the American football or the Euro football guys, go against. Could you see one of your midfielders in a Division I team go against Harry, or go against one of the other great British sprinters, or go against Trayvon Bromell? It would be. I think the football guys would do it. I mean, the kid DK Metcalf, he was unusual. But no, we just got to look at it differently. I mean, there's. I really believe. I was talking to a sponsor last week, longtime sponsor of track and field, and asked him what's he optimistic about, and he said that we have, for the first time in a long time, the chance to really do some innovative things in the sport. And the answers are within our sport. We're just not looking at it the right way. So I challenge everybody to do that. I challenge people to stop complaining and say, you know what? Let's take something and let's shake it up a little bit, Although I got to say, I'm not sure I'm real happy with this new World Athletics rule about field events, my friend.
Oh, my goodness me.
What do you think about it? Yeah, we've talked about this before. I mean, what were they doing? Was there a bad bottle of vodka when they were thinking this?
The stupidity of it is that they haven't even come up with a way of reporting it. By the way, if you're not familiar, what they now do in the Diamond Leagues and the field events, you get 5 throws, and the top 3 go again, and what you've done before doesn't matter. It's a shootout, 1 throw each to decide first, second, and third place. But then they list everyone with their longest throw, the longest of the 6.
Oh my God.
So it's actually listed that the person who's won has actually not thrown as far as the person who's second. And there's no explanation of this. I mean, it's just madness.
Yeah, I do not understand that. And I sure hope that thing is kind of moved away, because I appreciate trying new things, but every once in a while stuff fails, and just get over it.
I understand the excitement of, let's have a 1-throw shootout because of the excitement. But give an extra $5,000 for that. Don't ruin the integrity of the competition.
Yeah.
Just for a bit of excitement.
No, I
you
agree
say,
with you.
The 3 who got to the top have earned the right for a shootout. And so we're going to give you a shootout and a chance to earn a bit more money. But I mean, to say that somebody who breaks the world record potentially finishes third because they mess up the final throw, it's just nonsense.
Yeah. Talk to me about our favorite thing each week. This is the Tokyo Love Fest.
Well, it has been reported that the Olympic Committee in Tokyo will be requiring anyone who goes in an accredited role to, what would be athletes, coaches, administrators, media, to sign a waiver saying, I recognize that I might die of COVID in Tokyo, and I recognize that it's entirely my risk and no responsibility at all of the Olympic Committee.
Yeah, and what was even more full of cow dung was that the spokesperson for the LOC said, "Oh, we've been doing this all along." No, they haven't. I mean, they've had different things that you've had to sign, but nothing this blatant. Our friends at Inside the Games.biz announced this first. They've been really diligent, and if you don't know about them, just check out Inside the Games.biz. It's a wonderful site. It's all Olympic geek stuff, but boy, does the team, they do a lovely job. It just, I mean, I'm to the point right now where, I'm not going to Tokyo, and my brother and I were going to go. This would have been, let's see, he's been at 1, 2, 3 with me. This would have been my 10th. We're still trying to juggle. We're just finding out what's happening with the U.S. Olympic trials, which is going to be craziness. And the truth is, I'm going to find a place where I can watch the Olympics through a partner portal. And, we'll be doing the remote stuff, you and me from around the world. We'll have a few other people involved with it. But we'll probably see more than the people there, unfortunately, because Tokyo traffic is terrible on a good day. It's going to be insanity. And I was expecting to sleep in the stadium a few nights. The issue is we're not going to get into the stadium, at least half the nights. We have to petition to get in each day, Stuart. And it's just a little silliness. And, the accepting that I'm killing myself by going over there is really just not a way to entice people to go over. I believe they may end up having trouble with a lot of folks going over. And I think this is what they want. They don't want to have to deal with people going over. They're going to loosen up. For some people, there will be an option, I believe, to get in and actually watch the events. I think many of the media are going to be told, don't go. It's a very strange situation. I'm waiting for the USOC to tell us some things, and they still haven't been able to do that. We literally received information. So what Tracktown did about the U.S. Olympic trials was they said, well, if you haven't sent your money back or your tickets back, you can use them, but we're going to be moving you around depending if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. And that's why I think the Scarlet Letter would be really good too, because we have so many literalists in the U.S. anyway, or maybe like a picture of Bill Gates if you've been vaccinated, but we'll keep it fun. And then now, what's your next meeting in the UK? What event do you get to see next? Do you have anything coming up?
This weekend, I believe we have the 10,000 meter trials. I'm not going to that, but I will go to the British Championships, which are the same weekend as the US.
Okay.
The finishing weekend of the US trials. That is the British one. So I'm planning to go to that in Manchester, and then the only other one that I feel I'm definitely will go to is what we used to call the Anniversary Games, which has been called the something Grand Prix, which again will be in Oh,
wow. So if I come over for the Grand Prix, I still get to go to Gateshead and talk to my.
Yeah.
There's these huge little snails in Newcastle that are on the trails where you walk. They're not the crazy U.S. snails, and they kind of talk with a British accent. So if you slow down, you can hear them speak. But I'm just kind of giving you some trouble, Stuart. But anyway, it's nice walking along the river in Newcastle. So if we can get over there, that'll be. How many people fit in the Gateshead Stadium?
I would think about 15,000, but I think that was 2,000 that they had last weekend. I mean, officially, our Prime Minister has said that on the 21st of June, all restrictions will come off if possible. But now the Indian variant is growing in certain cities, and it's a bit iffy whether the restrictions really will come off. And some of us think that you can't really go from the restrictions we've got at the moment to nothing just overnight. What's the space, as they say?
Well, I think we're in that place, my friend. Well, and so ends episode 54. Stuart, it's always wonderful seeing you, and I hope you get in a golf game this week. And
I have.
Perhaps a glass of wine or two. And, not suggesting anything. But this is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is Athletics Chat 54. Stuart Weir, our dear friend and European editor, senior editor, is in Oxford, England, the intellectual capital of the world. This is Larry Eder. I'm in, this week, Portland, Oregon. And who knows where we'll be next week. But stay safe. If you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated. If you need to wear a mask, wear a mask. It's not just for you, it's for other people. And I want to see you at some track meets so we can talk track and field. If you like RunBlogRun, like us at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. If you love us, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see all 54 episodes of Athletics Chat.
54.
Isn't that amazing? Just kind of scary. All right, I will be getting up those two more pieces on Scott Simpson, and then there's a piece on the Paralympics from Doha. And then I've got about 5 pieces on the Portland Distance Classic and a couple interviews that we're going to be posting too. So hope everybody stays safe. Stuart, great seeing you again. Thanks to Mike Deering, our production manager.
Okay, thank you. Hey,
sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. This is Athletics Chat number 54. Can you believe it? Yeah. Stuart's put up with me for 54 weeks. Dear God, it's pretty special. So Stuart's in Oxford, England. We call that the intellectual capital of the world. It's where Brother Cadfile's from. And right now, I'm in Portland, Oregon. We were here for the Portland Distance Classic. So we've got a lot of topics, so let's try to go over it. On Friday, we had the Doha Diamond League. Some pretty strong performances. Kenny Bednarek and Andre DeGrasse in a screaming 200 meters. Then you had Faith Kipyegon in the 800 teaching people how to run. You also had a great 3,000 flat and a great 3,000 steeple for women. The men's side, Killer 1,500, Timothy Chariot 330, 38. A couple big 800s, 47-28 in the 400-meter hurdles, won by Rai Benjamin. Mr. Samba was back and forth. That keeps it interesting. And then in the women's pole vault, Katie Nagiot won in 484 countback over Sandy Morris. And Katie has the world leader at 493 as well. But the Doha meet is one of Stuart and my favorite meets. My first time I was in Doha was in 2010 for the World Indoor. And I've been going to the Diamond League since it started. First time I missed was 2018. 2019 couldn't get over. And, it's been a nightmare since then. So we're hoping that by 2022, we'll be able to get back over. Why do we like it? It's Doha's a fascinating city. The small sports center track is fantastic, sports club track, and there's always great performances. I do enjoy traveling, and so hopefully we'll get to Doha next year. But for meet two of the Diamond League season, it was did a good job. Then I was in Portland for the Portland Distance Classic on Friday night and Saturday. On Friday, steeples won by Courtney Frerick and Mason Frolic. 10,000s won by Caroline Tanui and Shiguro Osaku. Shiguro run two 10,000s, a 27.50, 6:44 for the win in Heat 1 and a 29:04.28 for second in the second heat. The reason why he did two is he was told he needed a 10-mile tempo run, and he goes, Coach, I don't want to run on a treadmill. So he did that. Now, Molly Seidel, who was third in the women's 10, what did she do? Well, she ran a tempo run, 5 miles, 5:19 pace, and then 90 minutes later ran a 32:02 10,000, making the Olympic trials and the Olympic qualifying standard. Pretty impressive. So the Doha meet was pretty rocking and rolling. Then there was the European team match this weekend. The top 8 national teams was won by Poland. The deal is there are 22 events on each side, and you one athlete from each country and then a point for each one. So first place is 10, goes down to I think 8th place, which is 1 point. Poland won 181.5. Italy had 179. So very close, a lot of fun. Understand the Brits dropped some batons, not good things. But, those things happen sometimes too. And then Stuart and I talked about, does the European team champs have a home? Does the World Relay champs have a home? Yes, they just need another sponsor. I think that the World Relay should be the Bahamas all the time. And you know what? Let's do the European team champs in Poland. Keep it there. And then, of course, Summer Olympics. Where else? Athens. Every 4 years, baby. It would sure take care of their deficits. So anyway, that was an aside, a digression. The next thing is Hayward Field. On Saturday morning when I woke up, Tracktown USA sent us a release that there'll be people allowed, fans will be allowed in the stadium for the Olympic trials the 18th of June to the 27th of June. What that means is rather complicated. If you haven't given your tickets back, you're going to be able to get tickets to the trials. We just don't know where you're sitting yet. There's going to be a vaccinated area and unvaccinated area. I suggested having medallions with a picture of Bill Gates on them for the vaccinated people, and like the Scarlet Letter, have an envy on the people who don't, or haven't been vaccinated. The non-vaccinated are going to have to socially distance. Go get a shot. There's enough out there. And then you've got the NCAA champs, which are the 9th through the 12th, Eugene. 4,400 fans will be allowed in each day. You're going to have to show proof of vaccination, otherwise firstborn male child, that kind of a thing. So what's nice is you're going to be able to get people into Hayward Field. It's a gorgeous stadium. It's a total departure from the old Hayward Field, and I love the old Hayward Field. But I also love the new stadium, and it really celebrates the sport. It's an icon. It's a cathedral for track and field, just like Touchdown Jesus is for football at Notre Dame, so kind of cool. And then what have we got? Tokyo. Oh, Tokyo. Woe is Tokyo. So here's the deal. Continued lockdowns in Tokyo extended 5 weeks. Sapporo extended. Osaka had some issues too. The Japanese media, the Asahi Shimbun is the New York Times of Japan, and they're also a sponsor of the Olympics. They said, close this knucklehead thing down. And then you've got the LOC boys and the IOC. No one can tell these guys they're full of shit, and they need someone to tell them, stop being pompous. People are going to die, but they haven't gotten there. But what they're going to make you do, if you go over, you have to sign a waiver that says, if I croak, it's my fault. I'm not going to sue the Olympics because, they already owe so much money anyway, and they're such a lovely philanthropic organization. Yeah, so the IOC is going to do this come hell or high water. What's more than likely going to happen is most media like myself will probably be watching it remotely. We will be doing it via TV, just like I did the European indoors. And so we're going to get a few meets to see live, going to Stumptown on Thursday night in Portland at Lewis and Clark, then the NCAAs, then the Olympic trials. But after that, probably not going anything until Diamond League after the Olympics. I'm just hoping that things clear up. I face it, things are not going to be copacetic until 2022 when Eugene happens, when the world champs happen there, and the sky is going to open and Pre's going to come down from, on top and say, hey, where's a good burrito, and get me my Coors in a brown paper bag, and let's watch some track and field. But that's how it's going to be. And we're going to have masks, we're going to be carrying masks at different places, and we're just going to have to be careful. This is a fact of modern life now. So get over it, stop whining, and stop calling it all a Democratic plot or whatever kind of plot. Anyway, Larry Eater, Run Blog Run. Stay safe. If you have to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated, not just for yourself, but the people around you. If you really want to get back to normal and you care about your fellow man, consider getting a vaccination. Okay? And if you like Run Blog Run, like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Do it all at the same time so you don't forget. If you love us, subscribe on our YouTube channel and watch some videos. We have 2,500 videos and audios since 2010, 369 in 2020. Poor, Mike Deering, our production manager, he should have lost his mind, what's left of it, but he did not. He's still charming as always and telling me to be on time. So anyway, stay safe. I'm trying not to lean forwards, Michael. I know. I'm going to have to get one of those like rubber band things. Anyway, have a great week, everybody. Talk to you soon.